So with that, I'm going to throw it open to questions.
I got a question.
Yep, first one, Leah, that's quick.
Yeah. According to the March 15th reader by Dorian Hargrove,
Uh-huh.
Sherman says he supports smart development and stresses the need for developer impact fees to build new parks, but according to recent campaign finance statements, Sherman has received dozens of donations from the building industry, including a total of $7,600 in 2011 from principals and employees of developers H.G. Fenton, Sudbury Properties, McMillan, and Urban Housing Partners, and from Superior Ready-Mix.
Yep.
The building industry of San Diego County has endorsed him. Some fear if elected, Sherman will be in the back pocket of developers. That's what happens to everybody who goes down to San Diego, downtown.
Well,
They forget us. Barney Emerald did the same thing.
Right.
Saying, I've seen it for years and years and years, and then they do whatever the hell they want to us.
yeah, and I'd like to address that.
Please do.
I also have the endorsement of the Restaurant Association, the Apartment Association, the San Diego Association of Realtors, Mayor Sanders, Carl DeMaio, Nathan Fletcher, Lori Zapp, Kevin Faulkner, Joel Anderson. All of those people have, well, all those industries have one thing in common, is they help create jobs. I also have the signatures of over 1,200 San Diegans who want me to be there. I've been in business for 20 plus years. I have a set of principles and ethics that I guide my life and my company by. I really think that a $500 check is going to buy my loyalty to somebody. It's not going to happen. Now, are these people job creators? Yes. And I think the biggest problem we have in the city right now is development is trying to happen, and the city doesn't do any infrastructure. So in goes the development, the infrastructure isn't there, our neighborhoods get impacted with the lack of services and congestion in the streets, and no fire department, and no schools, and that type of thing. We need to work together, but we can't just go into different camps. We need to work together to try and make things happen smartly, so we can protect our neighborhoods. I mean, the integrity of the neighborhood is important, but if we're going to protect the neighborhoods, I mean, San Diego grew 100,000 people last year, even in this economy. They've got to go somewhere. So let's do it smartly. Let's do it where we keep our neighborhoods the way they are. Yes, sir.
If you're elected, how will you manage your business?
Well, my wife over here is in the business. I bought the business from my father 7 years ago. Between you and me, he's dying to get his fingers back in. I always tease my father, when the time comes for him to go to the great beyond, there's going to be a tombstone and an inbox, because he doesn't know what else to do. And I have two very good partners at the office. And at the same time, I've also hired a guy to take over my day-to-day operations. So that'll take care of itself. I'll go take care of the city for 8 years, and then I'll go back to hopefully they'll do a good job, and there'll be some value there when I get back. Because that's my retirement. I mean, yes, sir.
Following up on development that you heard from back there, what's your take on what's going to happen on this next door lot?
The one over here?
Well,
Yeah.
whichever. Yeah.
First and foremost, I'd like to see it be bought by the city and turned into a park.
Yes.
But we all know that the money's probably not there to do that. So then we need to work with the people to keep it within the confines of what fits the makeup of the city. I think it's probably a good location for a senior home. I mean, you've got the stores, you've got the hospital, you've got the library that's open sometimes. But to get 3, 4 stories up there and do that and come away from what is the makeup of Allied Gardens, I don't agree with.
Does that mean you wouldn't approve a rezone for that property or not?
Well, I don't think it would be up to me, so. But I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of buying a property with the idea of trying to rezone it. If you buy a property, you should know what the zone is and plan for it accordingly when you buy it.
I agree, thank you.
But when it says for seniors, that's 50 or older.
Mhm.
If you're 50 years old, you aren't necessarily not working.
Right.
So if it's a couple that lives there, they both work, they're both gonna have a car, but they're
Wait a
gonna
minute, is
give you only
50
one
a senior?
parking space.
Does that mean I'm a year away from being considered a senior? Yeah, and there are issues there, and like I said, it needs to be taken into consideration, and we also have to balance private property rights and what they can do with it.
Yeah,
But changing the zoning to
If there are
build something
2
different.
cars per each one of those dwellings,
There's gonna be some
there's
issues
gonna
on
be
the street.
cars all over this place.
That's why I think underground parking would be a real good idea, if they do something with a 2-story with some underground parking to keep it off the streets.
But they wanna build 3-story.
I'd much rather see a park.
Yes?
Yeah.
You gotta buy it.
probably need to ask. I asked this of Mr. Kostrinsky and Mr. Huffeld when they were here. I've been involved in the Grantville redevelopment project for many years, and I have heard of all the plans for this area, and I believe I asked this of you at the GAG meeting as well. My concern is that we have a possibility of anywhere from 8,000 to 11,000 condos in this area, and I'm not exaggerating these numbers. These are the numbers that are being projected based on what is the final determination for sub-area A for the EIR whenever they get around to finishing that. So my question would be, I don't think this area can support that. We do not have the infrastructure, and it's definitely not going to go in now that redevelopment has been stopped. But these developers are going to go forward. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of valuable property sitting there. They want to try and do
Yeah,
something.
they're gonna
I totally
develop it.
understand where they're
So
going.
my feeling is, how do we keep the density level down? Who is going to be our voice to keep that level down so our quality of life is not going to be impacted?
Yeah, and that goes again back to what I was saying about the infrastructure problems. What we've done in the past is we've shoved a bunch of units into someplace and never put in any extra streets to support it, which is the problem when it's down here. If you're gonna put in all those units down there needs to be some place to support it. I don't like the idea of 8,000. I think there's gotta be a mix in there somewhere. But the infrastructure has to go in first before the development. You can't do it backwards. Because what happens is it goes in development first, and then it causes problems for our neighborhood. If it's done smartly and wisely, we could collect the fees from those people, but have it done to where the infrastructure is there first. I mean, you look at Qualcomm Stadium for Mission Valley and all the developments been going on down there. Their fire department is underneath a tent in Qualcomm Stadium. That's where Mission Valley's fire department is, because they haven't been building the infrastructure to support the development. It has to be turned around, and it has to be done with community involvement and with the developers' involvement, and everybody coming together to try and make it as copacetic as possible. There'll be people on both sides that have their issues, but you try and do it smartly to where it doesn't affect our neighborhoods. Because I guarantee, I don't want a bunch of people driving up and down Zion or Princess View or all through Waring all the time. I mean, that's why we're here. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how to say this, and I bluntly speak, so this is the way it's gonna come out. While all the candidates are here, to let them know that there are planning groups out there that they don't seem to take our word for anything, okay? We don't count. They have their setup and how they're gonna be run. These developers know that they can bypass us and go right to these planning groups, and we're not recognized.
Right.
And, but I do want to say one thing to all of them, and that's the internet is something new, and we have emails, and all of us as a whole community here and throughout can get on email lists, and when things do not go our way, become the citizens that we once were, speak out and don't let it happen.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's kind of disrespectful for the developers not to come talk to the community groups here. I know they go right to the people who they think have the power and can do the best for them. I understand that as a business person. But as a neighborhood person who would want to give the respect to the people and get their input from the people in the neighborhood, so I'm not making a whole bunch of enemies by changing what the neighborhood wants, it's short-sighted to me. I mean, they're not seeing the big picture. They're trying to see what's right in front of them. It's our job at city to show them the big picture. Thank you. We're done. I'll be in the back. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
for
Marilyn.
being-
And thank you all for having me. It humbles me every time I appear before a group like this. I'm a small business guy. I'm not used to big crowds.
Oh,
so.
that's okay. Thank you for being.